4 months ago to the day, a day that now forever lives in infamy, the Great Depression, referred to as the retake update by Valve. A tiny footnote in the update included that you could trade up 5 reds in exchange for a knife. In the next 6 hours or so, billions of dollars vanished from the market. Knife owners, knife collectors, people who put their entire life into the game watched all of their money evaporate. The coverts that nobody wanted until that point became the most valuable things in the game overnight. But now, February 23rd, the dust is settled. And with that and emotions out of the way, was the knife trade up update actually a good thing? Well, let's take a look at the background. Before the update, your only chance of getting a knife was through a case, and it was roughly 1 in 400 odds. That was the only way. There were no shortcuts, nothing of the sort. There was no crafting, but more importantly, there was no deterministic path beyond buying one outright. In theory, you could have opened 20,000 cases and still not have received a knife. Extremely improbable, but technically possible. And October 23rd changed the math. 5 coverts, 1 guaranteed gold. And that word guaranteed is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, because not only did it change how many knives can enter the market, it also changes the ceiling on how many knives can exist. Think about it this way. You can visualize the number of knives by taking a case, the supply left, and multiplying it by the probability of you getting a knife, around 1 in 385. Random and uncontrollable, yes, but you can theoretically figure out a cap on the number of knives that could be possibly unboxed, if a case is discontinued at least. A covert is technically 20% progress towards a knife, because now you only need 4 more. A pink in the same way, but you need 50 of those. Now obviously we can't put a number to the number of contracts that would happen, but now the ceiling is pretty much impossible to gauge. Now obviously we could take the number of cases left, figure out how many blues and purples and pinks and reds we can get, and then figure out the knife supply. But we don't know how many trade-ups are actually going to happen. Obviously not all skins are going to go towards knives, so the ceiling becomes very hard to gauge. But even if a fraction of skins become knives through the trade-up update, you're still looking at a ton of new knives entering supply. And of course, that fear prompted violent changes in the market. Knives dropped 20 to 60% in some cases. A butterfly knife fade you couldn't get for less than $3,000 on October 22nd. On October 23rd, you were able to get one for $1,600. Coverts like the Og Chameleon and the sawed-off Kraken, which sat at $3 to $4 for the majority of their lifespans, well, they spiked 30 to 50 times their original price. Not because the guns gained any aesthetic value in the last 24 hours, but because they actually provided value beyond their aesthetics. They were now the cheapest keys to unlock the doors to the most valuable asset in CS. But since a lot of money came back just 7 days later, what most people dismissed as panic was actually just repricing. And even though it hurts sentiment, Valve probably saw this update as necessary. And that's because coverts had a problem, a fundamental problem, when opening cases. Most of them were worthless beyond aesthetics. Unless your covert was a red or an M4, it was $5. And if you add enough covert M4s and AKs, then eventually they're all going to be $5 because you have 30,000 to choose from. So if you didn't like how the sawed-off the Kraken looked, or you don't use the sawed-off because you're not brain dead, well then you're not going to buy one, and it's not going to carry any demand in the market. It's going to be $3. Coverts had 0 utility, they had 0 function beyond their aesthetic value, and that's economically broken because the case itself costs $250 to open plus the price of the case. So when half of the covert pool has no demand, and thus the pinks have no demand because they trade up to shitty reds, well then the expected value of the case sucks. Even if the supply dips down, there's no reason to open them beyond the knives. So you're paying $2.50 for a lottery ticket at a knife, and that's not a sustainable practice when there's 50 cases. The covert tier should provide significant value to you opening that case, but in that state it contributed almost 0 to the math. Combine this with the fact that cases haven't changed price since 2013. They were $250 then, they're $250 now, which means that it's cheaper relative to open a case nowadays, which means even more supply and even more cheaper coverts, specifically for the newer active cases. Right, the case price offsets that for the older discontinued ones, but the new ones, you can open as many as you fucking want because it's cheaper. And the trade-up update fixed this permanently because now every covert carries a floor. Coverts don't carry demand in the way that knives do. They cannot maintain their own floors. So even if the gun looks like shit, it cannot be worth less than 1/5 of the cheapest knife in that collection. So now the case's demand doesn't ride completely off of market sentiment and hype. Instead, it's structural, and it causes all cases to be demanded equally, or roughly equally. The trade-up contract provides so much structure and value to this economy you don't even understand, even if you don't use the trade-up. It's the reason why rarities hold different price floors so well. And we saw it happen in real time, right? People just bought a bunch of sawed-off Krakens, cost them $15 to buy 5 of them, and they just kept making and printing out knives. And people kept doing it and doing it and doing it until the supply of the Krakens was so low, it now matched 1/5 of the lowest tier covert. So Valve wins because case opening is now more rational. You're going to do it more. Coverts carry more value, which means opening a case provides more value to you in theory, due to probability. Now, if you open up cases, you are guaranteed a knife at some point. That previously was not the case, though improbable, but it was the case. And trade-ups get rid of supply. So if you use up enough reds, price goes up. It actually is better for you to open a case than buy that red, because the EV here is better than the EV there. Well, now since we're having this renaissance of skin prices and more people are opening cases as a result, well, that just further increases the number of incoming knives in the short term. So which knives got hurt the most and which ones will benefit the most? If you don't believe knives and gloves lost their value, just check out these crazy low prices on skinsmonkey.com. Today's video has been sponsored by the lovely ladies and gentlemen over at skinsmonkey.com. Skinsmonkey is the industry standard trading forum and marketplace for anything and all things Counter-Strike. 24/7 support and an instant trading system so fast, those Bulgarian overpay goblins are sure to go out of business. Now, if that's not enough incentive, throw my code Mike in on the website for $5 off on your first trade. But if you trade up to $100 on the website, they'll double your bonus from 5 to 10. Now, if you don't have any skins and I just gave you some free game on investment advice, you could deposit money and use the website as a marketplace as well. In that case, my code Mike will net you a 5% deposit bonus, bringing it from 30 to 35%. So go get swagged out, courtesy of skinsmonkey.com. Now, knives and gloves obviously both lost value, but not equally, and gloves and knives definitely didn't lose the same amount of value. Now, the reason it hurt a lot of people is because the most desirable knife finishes, i.e. the ones that the most people had in their inventories, Doppler, Fade, Gamma Doppler, Tiger Tooth, these all run from a 0 to 0.08 float range. That entire range is factory new, which means every case you unbox that has a Doppler is pretty much guaranteed to be a factory new, and every trade up you do is practically 100% guaranteed to get factory new. So every Doppler that enters the supply pool is an extra Doppler in supply, which lowers price. Dopplers were especially hit hard by this because of how the trade-ups worked. Each phase of the Doppler, so 4 phases of Doppler, were in the pool, which meant that if you did a Chroma trade-up, you had an equal chance of Tiger Tooth, Rust Coat, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, another one, whatever. You understand what I'm saying. So for example, a Doppler like phase 2, which was heavily invested in by Chinese traders because they just liked the aesthetic of that knife, it was hit disproportionately hard because now it was just very easy to get, and thus a ton of supply entered the market. And because it was so highly demanded even at that price, the undercutting just cascaded and it flew down in price overnight. I believe I got a Karambit phase 2 Doppler for like $1,400 that day. Premium was predicated on scarcity, and trade-ups like mechanically got rid of that. And while those finishes got hurt the most, some knives and all gloves didn't get hit nearly as hard. And that's because there's an actual range of floats. All gloves carry a 0.06 to 0.8 float range, which means that if you want a specific wear, you kind of have to be intentional with your trade up. You can't just do a trade up and accidentally get a factory new Gamma Doppler. So an unintentional knife trade up can net you a factory new Fade, but an unintentional glove trade up, you're not getting anywhere fucking near a factory new glove. So a Fade or a Doppler, your probability just rests on the probability of getting that knife. For the glove, you have to get the specific glove you want, and then you have to be intentional to get factory new, or intentional to get minimal wear. Otherwise, you're going to get it beat up and probably lose money. And every failed glove attempt that they're trying to get hedge mazes and they get the shitty ones with like 2 fucking dogs on their hands, well, that's 5 low float coverts permanently removed from the supply. So every failed attempt destroys the supply pool and raises the price even higher, and thus raises the price of factory new gloves even more. So not only do current factory new gloves keep their supply, but future ones keep their price too, because the price of all coverts, by doing trade-ups and getting rid of supply, increases their value. Which is why factory new gloves are probably one of the best gloves to buy if you're in the market for one and you don't want it to go down in price over time. There was barely any in supply before, and there ain't too much coming in now. Trade-ups barely add to it, and the price of factory new coverts is so astronomically high right now, probably not even worth it anymore considering the completely wide range of different glove finishes there are. So if you spend $2,000 on this trade-up for a factory new pair of gloves, you very well might get a $600 pair of factory new gloves. So before the update, the life cycle of a knife's price was fairly simple to calculate. The case is active, the supply of everything goes up, prices trend down. Case gets discontinued, price of the case rises up, so does the knife, but the supply of everything in it increases and prices relatively stay the same. So when case prices go up, eventually it hits a point where it's not even worth it to open them anymore, especially when the coverts are not worth much. And thus all of your value of every knife in that case is based purely off market demand. Now that hurts the knife long term, but it also hurts case investing long term, because there is a point at which the supply is so low where it's not worth it to open the case anymore. The update accelerated gains on case investing, barring they do anything stupid in the future. Because now we're losing supply through active consumption. It's no longer passive. There is a reason to open these cases now. Supply isn't just stacking up over time. Coverts don't just keep going up and up and up, and now they have value. So now you have value from the coverts. Coverts lose supply over time, which keeps demand high for the case, thus increasing case openings, lowering supply, and raising price for cases long term. So not only does that increase the price of that case, it increases the price of other cases, because there's just less guns to go around, because they're just being discarded in trade-up contracts, and more trade-up contracts are happening everywhere. Blues to purples, purples to pinks, pinks to reds. Those are happening more because people want reds now. So there's supply being drained from every which avenue. So the demand for your case goes up that you're holding, but it also goes up for skins in general. And eventually, this will all culminate until we hit a point where cases, the skins inside, and the knives inside have no choice but to trend upwards. When that will happen could be a long time. But the point is, we've reset the timeline. The knives have a long road to go before they start going back up. And some will go up faster than others, right? Not all knife pools are equal. There's 19 cases that drop Karambit case hardens. There's only 2 that drop Karambit Dopplers though. So that process will happen much quicker with the Chroma cases than it will with the original knife cases. And of course, every glove on top of that float fact benefits from this as well. The max amount of cases a glove can come from is 3 right now, which is the broken fang, snakebite, and recoil. So of course, these knives will hit scarcity faster than ones from older cases with tons of different avenues of getting them. There's also one huge part that no one ever talks about with this update. It's that how much value in liquidity Valve added with this update. Before October, your $2,000 knife was worth $2,000 on paper. In practice, selling it meant waiting 3-4 weeks to get someone to buy your knife for $3,000. To which you either wait that timeline or you accept a lower offer to curb that wait time. So was your knife really worth $1,500? Or was it worth $1,500 if you waited a month? That's a huge difference. It was probably worth somewhere around $1,100 in reality, because if you actually wanted to get rid of it, it was worth less than what the market price was. But now with lower baseline prices, knife turnover happens at a much quicker rate. The spreads are tighter, more people are participating, and that's simply because the entry price is lower, right? I'd rather have a $1,000 knife that I can get rid of in an hour than a $1,500 knife that I have to wait 3 weeks to get rid of, because maybe I have a play that I need the money for right now. But if I can't get it right now, then that $1,500 knife is worth 0 to me. So Valve didn't destroy value. They get their 15% tax on all these increased transactions, but also the value of your shit went up because you can move it. Liquidity is how markets run. You need liquidity. And if you don't have it because you chalked up all the prices to 30K and no one wants to buy your shitty ass factory new gloves, well then you're a fucking idiot. The value gained in liquidity outweighed the value lost in terms of actual cost basis. Because now you could take your losses, actually convert them back into cash, and make moves to get your way back up there. Right? You think Valve's gonna ban the armory bots? Are you guys fucking brain dead? Do you understand in your pea brain how much fucking liquidity those bots provide the market with? You guys are seriously stupid if you think they're just letting that shit happen on purpose. And historically, every time Valve has added a change like this, a major shakeup, stat track trade ups, the 7-day market hold, trade reversal feature, everyone panicked and freaked the fuck out like little babies. And every single time, without fail, the market has grown back to its previous point, and it grew even further, stronger, and faster, because all of these updates have one thing in common. It made the system more trustworthy, it made the system more predictable, and thus attracted more capital in higher rates as a result. The 7-day reversal update made Counter-Strike skins more secure than money. So yes, the knife trade-up update was a good thing. In fact, it will be a great thing when we look back on it in a few years from now. The timeline reset, the mechanics make sense again, case investing will continue to thrive, and it will all be multiplied by capital moving in, player base is growing, and the drain on supply of skins accelerates. The plays that are going to be the best in terms of cases, barring Valve doesn't fuck anything up, are going to be the ones with the most narrow supply paths. Prisma, Chroma, Spectrum, Gamma, the glove cases, any of the fucking 9 of them, whatever. Because they're closed systems and there's no way to, actually get to them other than those cases. The ones with a large amount of cases, those ones are going to hurt more. But of course you must take into account the fact that those Dopplers and those fades are low float and are the most high in demand, so they won't see gains as quickly as the glove ones. The glove cases, all of them in general, once discontinued, will be the best. Factory new gloves are probably underpriced from where they should be right now. They probably shouldn't have moved all too much from before the knife trade up update. And as supply continues to drain and as cases continue to drain in supply to feed those trade ups, well then factory new gloves will be the biggest beneficiary of that. So by their patterns, it looks like Valve is just trying to increase liquidity within the game. Right? Think about the sticker slab update. Did the same thing. Just increased the circulation of stickers, regardless if they get applied or not. People with $8,000 stickers are actually able to get fucking rid of it because the people buying it can actually use the sticker without throwing it on their gun and setting $8,000 on fire. The only thing left is collection skins, so I'm very scared to see where the fuck they go with that. I hope they don't touch them. I hope they leave those alone. But who knows what's on the table or what's off the table. Because while that price is nice of the Wild Lotus, is it fundamentally better for the economy if you add 2,000 of them to the supply, bump that price down from 20K to 5K, and make it actually obtainable for a person? Probably. And the people with Wild Lotuses don't want to hear that, but unfortunately it's the truth. But that is a different conspiracy video, not this time. Peace.